Sick with the slang, sick and I'm destined for fame. Do for the fam, not for the gram. Stunting, you're destined for pain. I do not front, I do not scam. Put some respect on my name. Sick like Cobain, click and I bang. Y'all gon' remember the name. Y'all gon' remember the name.
Real Talk with Zuby. Today I am talking to an artist, a beatboxer, the director of the BAC, that's the Battersea Arts Center Beatbox Academy, Mr. Conrad Murray. How you doing?
Yeah, good man. All good.
Hey, we got a quick little demo.
Yeah. Always making sounds like Tourette's.
Awesome, man. So where are you right now, bro? You in London?
Mitcham, southwest London. Just in my room. I've got a studio session later today, recording some stuff. So yeah, all good.
Awesome, bro. So Mitcham, is that home for you?
Yeah, Mitcham, M-Town. I've lived there for over 20 years. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome, man. So why don't you introduce yourself to the people and explain to people who it is that you are and what it is that you do?
I'm a theatre maker, a musician, writer, director, singer as well, and I rap as well. So I use those skills to direct performance and create performance in many different ways. And I lead the BAC Beatbox Academy, where we've been going for 10 years, beatbox group, music, vocal, spoken word group, and I also co-run Beats and Elements, which is a hip-hop performance company.
That's awesome, man. So you've got your hand in a lot of different musical and creative pies, basically.
Yeah, like probably like everyone. Like you start off doing one thing, so I start off wanting to sing, and then I wanted to sing and rap, and then you kind of got to branch out because the music game is complicated. Like I had a publishing and a recording deal with Polydor many years ago.
Okay.
And at one point that was going to be my main outlet, but I like theatre as well. My manager at the time, he was also the manager of, or used to manage Wet, this old group. I don't know if you heard
Okay, yes, I have, yeah.
So he was quite a big deal, but I remember him saying to me like he didn't want me to go into a theatre and don't go into theatre or ruin your image. But I always had these other elements that I wanted to tie together. So, you know, this game is complicated. I think it's good to have your finger in many pies or just express yourself however you need to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast, because I'm interested in so many things, both within and outside of music directly. So yeah. I wanted another avenue to almost satisfy another part of my brain, but also to have honest, open, valuable conversations with people that hopefully listeners can take something positive away from, or even just some food for thought or entertainment or whatever that may be. And yeah, also to provide a platform for other people who are doing interesting stuff. There are so many creative people out there, so many entrepreneurs, people doing awesome and amazing stuff, who many of which I follow. And I was like, you know what, it would be great to just have open, honest conversations with these people and just see where things go. And that platform, I wasn't seeing that platform existing anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know, why don't I just make it?
No, that's good, man. Also, you got a kind of different perspective. I follow a lot of hip hop pages and UK rap pages, and you're a rapper, but you also got, I don't know, quite a different worldview.
I think I view things in a bit more of a global perspective than most people do. So not just getting one single viewpoint, which can sometimes be quite narrow, but thinking of the bigger picture of things and, you know, putting those thoughts out there. So that's my background. So tell us a little bit about yours, bro. Where did you grow up? What was life like growing up for you, man?
I mainly grew up in southwest London. I was born in Tooting. Generally, I lived on several different housing estates, and now I live in an ex council house. It's one of those places that no one's ever heard of. So it's like, yeah, you live in London. What, Mitcham? Where's that?
I lived in southwest London for 3 years, so I do that.
Yeah. Where did you live?
I lived in Clapham.
Oh yeah, I know Clapham really well.
Yeah.
Clapham's cool, man. Why was you there? Sorry, why was you there?
Oh, right. So I used to actually be, after I graduated from university, I did my music full time for 1 year. But after that, I actually worked as a management consultant, a company based in London. And I was working with clients all over the place. But I was based in London for the 3 years that I was doing that. So that was from 2008 to 2011. And then in 2011, I went crazy and decided to become a full-time musician. I say I went crazy, not really, but I took that big leap of faith and was like, you know what, this is all right, this is cool, this is secure, this is like normal, I could be successful in this route. But knowing my own personality, just how I am as a person. I'm very creative, very entrepreneurial, and always have been. The idea of working for a big corporation for several decades just didn't vibe with me. I don't think that's my purpose on this earth, is probably the best way to put it. I just felt like, yes, I can do this, but I don't want to. And I don't think I have to. I don't want to ever get stuck in a situation where it's like I'm being forced to do something, or that I feel like I have to do this thing. But I know in my heart of hearts that I'm not really into it, and there's something else I'd rather be doing.
Yeah, no, sick, man. So you totally freelance?
Yeah, I'm completely independent. I'm not with any record label, never have been. I don't even have a manager. I don't have an agent. Everything I've done over the past years, everything I've accomplished has been off my own back and the support of the people who support me. That's it.
Oh, that's cool, man. That freelance life, you know what I mean? That freelance.
Yeah.
Everything's a hustle. You got to set I don't know about you, but you start off by getting scared. You got to set every gig, and then you're like, I got too many gigs.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, man. And you've always just got to stay creative. As you said with music, I mean, since I've been making music, the amount that, not even the industry, I don't consider myself part of the music industry. With me, it's always been about staying creative and just trying to stay ahead of the game and trying to work out ways, both as an artist and as a business person, technically, how to stay afloat as stuff keeps changing, as people go from buying CDs to downloading more, they go from downloading more to streaming more. And each time the way that the monetization happens keeps on changing. It keeps on, every year it's different. Every single year it's different. Something that worked in 2016 in 2019 may no longer be an effective strategy. So you really have to stay ahead and keep seeking out opportunities where other people may see challenges, trying to solve problems, trying to find holes that you can plug in, basically looking for new ways to do things. So yeah, it's really a challenge, but that challenge is also what makes it exciting, because you can just go out there and create your own thing, and no one needs to give you permission. No one needs to tell you can do it. It's just like, if you want to start a YouTube channel tomorrow, you can do it. You want to start a podcast tomorrow, you can do it. You want to start a business, you want to start an e-commerce website, whatever it is, it's like you can do it. So the scale of the opportunity is quite scary, but if you kind of flip that, it's also very exciting.
How do you feel like you can be more experimental on as an independent artist or as part of the industry? The reason why I ask that is because if you sign a good deal, you can kind of go as far as you want and you're still getting paid. Mm-hmm. In many ways, like, as an entrepreneur outside of music, you have to find something that suits the market, that, that's actually going to make money.
Yeah.
Whereas in music, as an independent artist, I think for me, the consensus is that if you're independent, you're being more experimental, you're doing more of what you want. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, when you go to market, you're going to have something that's so different that might not be able to sell. Do you know what I mean? It's very different.
Yeah, it is different. It is different. But at the end of the day, I am an artist and I'm a musician primarily to be creative on my own terms and get out the music, the message, whatever it is that I genuinely want to and that's authentic to me. Mm-hmm. And two, to provide something that I think is valuable to other people. So as far as I'm concerned, like, if my goal was to make money, I would not be a musician. Like, this is something people don't get. Like, I would not be, it's funny. Like, there are people who don't know my story, because since I started, I've always been pushing and promoting myself and having my own merchandise brand and doing lots of the things out there in the visible public, traveling to all these different cities and meeting people. There are people or haters or critics or whatever who are like, oh, this guy, he's doing this for the money or something. And it literally cracks me up, because I'm do you understand that I am earning literally, like, I took a massive pay hit to go into my music full time. Like, this was not like I was on a nice, clear corporate path to just making a bunch of money. And I was like, you know what? This is cool for a lot of people. This just doesn't fit me. This isn't what I'm trying to do. This is not on my own terms. I don't completely feel like I can be my authentic self here all the time. To a lot of people, it seemed like a big risk. But with me, fortunately, I am very educated. I am very qualified. And I was in my early 20s, and I was like, you know what? Even if I did this for like 20 years, and after 20 years, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of music. I'm tired of doing this. Let me do something a little more normal. It's like I can still do that. You know what I mean? It's like, okay. So in terms of like a risk factor, to me personally, the risk was like staying there and just thinking, what if, you know? And I was like, you know what? Let me not have any what ifs on my deathbed. Let me try this thing and, you know, give it the best shot that I can. I'll have some level of success. How far it'll go, I don't know. 7 years now, I'm still going. You know, I'm still doing something. So that's certainly a level of success that to be frank, most musicians don't get to, being able to do their music and what they're passionate about full time. So even to me, that's a level of success. It's not as far as I want to go, but it's like, you know, the path and the mindset are in the right place. So I'm going to keep pushing in different ways, different avenues, and we'll see where it all goes. I've always just done my thing. You know, if certain people want to support me, I'm open to that. It's not like I'm telling people no, I don't want your help. I don't want your help. It's just like, dude, if someone wants to help me, I'm happy to have it. It's just more the idea of I'm not sitting around waiting for us. I'm not waiting. No, I'm not waiting for somebody. I'm not going to fundamentally change my entire style of music or the topics that I rap about or whatever to make it more in line with what certain people may think is hot or what is selling or whatever, which is going to change every year anyway. You know what I mean? So if a certain style of music starts popping, I'm not just going to jump on the wave and start making music that doesn't, you know, I mean, when grime started getting popular again, I mean, you had people like, oh yeah, you should jump on the grime wave. You should jump on. And I'm like, do you know how that just would not like I'm just like, I'm not a grime artist. You know what I mean? I'm not a grime artist. I'm not from London. I don't have that accent. I don't have that flow. I'm not gonna start trying to rap like Wiley or Dizzy or whatever in my weird hybrid accent just because someone thinks it'll be popular, or when certain types of like house music were a bit more popular and people, you should make a house track with like a female singer on the hook and this. And I'm like, I don't even like that kind of music. I'm like, I'm not going to start making music that I don't even myself listen to just because someone somewhere thinks it might sell. And in the long term, I don't think it works. I mean, you did see that phase where a lot of grime artists did start making far more poppy sort of tracks.
At Wiley.
Yeah. Wiley, Skepta, you know, loads of them did it. But it was actually when they returned to what they really do and, you know, their authentic selves that they blew up on a whole nother level, even internationally. And rather than chasing trends, sometimes you have to wait for the trend to come to you, or just say, you know what, forget the trend. I'm just going to do my thing. I'm just going to find my audience and just try to grow that. And that's always been my focus.
I think you're right. Like, you need to wait for it to come to you 100%. I've seen it happen myself with like, the Beatbox Academy and stuff. I'm actually a qualified teacher, so I don't need to be just doing music and performance. I could just be teaching, and I got my masters at Goldsmiths in performance.
Okay.
But like, so a lot of people were a bit like, you know, how come you don't do more education or straight theatre, or everything's got to be hip hop based or beatbox based? But I'm like, that's what I do. I might have got those grades in that, but I'm just gonna do what I'm doing over here, and I like it. I mean, like you're saying, like I really enjoy it. Whatever comes. I mean, but I'm not going to worry about. I'm not even worrying about what's coming, because things will come. And I've been doing the same thing for 10 years. Over 10. I started making like hip hop theatre way over 10 years ago, 13, 14 years ago. Now, you know, we're getting like 5-star reviews in the Stage, in the Observer, in the Guardian, selling like 450 tickets a night that's for one of the shows, and I've got another show. And it's like, now I feel like people are more open to hip hop, to rap, to grime. It's so traditional. Even now, it's like, you know, some people are going to be turning their nose up. But I'm like, you just got to wait around. If you believe in it, you just got to do it. If you believe in it, do it anyway. But eventually, who knows what will happen? Do you know what I mean? You just got to wait for that to come to you. And now, like, as I say, like, I could be as busy as what I want is really. Like, I need to kind of manage my time. Otherwise, I will be doing, like, too many projects.
That's a good place to be in, man. And congratulations for that success, because it's not easy. You know, people, especially in this day and time of everything online, speed, people people have short attention spans, and then that goes for both people who are on the receiving end, but people on the creating end too. You know, you get people who are you get people who have been rapping for 2 months, and they're messaging me. They haven't recorded a track yet, and they're messaging me like, yeah, let's do a collaboration, or how do I blow up, or yeah, do you have any industry links or whatever? And I'm like, send me a track you've made. And they're like, oh, I haven't written anything yet. And I'm just like, bro. I mean, I understand like the hunger, but it's just like people are trying to skip the first like 500 steps and just go to stuff.
They want to skip right to the they want to be you straight away. And even if I told them how to be, they couldn't do it. They didn't put the work in.
This is a big problem in society, you know. I think is that people see the end goal. This goes across the spectrum. People see the end goal without seeing the work it took to get to that end goal. So people will look at someone who's successful in any regard, and they'll just see where they currently are, but the grind was invisible. Someone will look at Ed Sheeran, okay, and they're like, look at these shows he's doing, look at these records he's selling. Yeah, I want to be there in 6 months. They didn't see the 7, 8, 9 years of busking, sleeping on people's sofas, putting out independent releases, selling CDs out of backpack, just grinding like whatever it is, going through all sorts of crap, all sorts of rejection, all sorts of, you know, needing all sorts of strength and perseverance to even get close to that level. And everybody wants to shortcut that crap. And I don't blame them for wanting to shortcut it. But, you know, if you want to,
I think sometimes you can't.
No, you can't. And there's no substitute for experience. You can learn from other people's experience. You can see mistakes other people make and go like, okay, I'm not going to make that same mistake.
Yeah.
You can have people guide you. If you've never done a gig before, you can't get good at performing without practicing performing. Your first gig, you're not going to be amazing. Like you by definition, you cannot. You can't go to the gym, and the first time you go to the gym, you bench press 300 pounds on your first day, unless you're literally a freak of nature who's just like, you know what I mean, right? You're not going to go to the gym the first time you've been, and you're going to like deadlift as much as me. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. You're not going to leapfrog someone who's been training for 10 years in anything.
I feel you there, man. I'll tell you a funny story though. Is the first time I ever went to the gym when I was 14, I actually did bench press the whole stack. On
a machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I lifted up quite heavy, and someone said, "Oh, do another one." They added more, and then I did. I'd never been to the gym before.
Okay.
So I was like, you know, a teenager. If you're like 14, never been to the gym, you could, I mean, I was, you know, you're kind of fat, you know, like. But maybe I had some muscle definitions, and I've done the whole stack. Yeah, my chest started getting hard. Yeah, occasionally I go to the gym, and people are like, "Oh, go on, do it again." I've been doing it. But I went to the hospital, and actually I had a condition where I produced way too much testosterone.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I hadn't realized. And I remember even at school, girls would be like, "Oh, lift your shirt up. You got a six pack," which I didn't have because my chest was so big.
Okay.
Like, it was so built that they were like, "Go on, or lift your top up." And they're like, and I remember thinking, quite naive, why did they say that? It's embarrassing.
It doesn't sound like a terrible problem, to be fair. Like a bit too much testosterone.
Oh no, like, but at the time I just didn't understand it. I mean, I had to go to the hospital in the end, and they had to cut out some flesh because it was producing too much tissue.
Really? That's interesting.
Rock hard. My chest was rock hard. It was only years later when I learned more about bodybuilding, I realized that actually I should have been banging out the weights then.
Yeah.
Like, crazy.
It's like a natural steroid.
What the hell? I was someone who produces too much testosterone. What was I doing? God, like, I didn't even know.
That's certainly a rare problem these days. It seems to be the opposite is the bigger problem.
Oh, mate, for real.
No, it actually is. I mean, they've done studies. I mean, every decade, the levels of testosterone amongst Western males is plummeting. It sounds like a joke because you can make a lot of jokes on it, but it's actually like a legitimate medical concern.
Yeah, I wonder what it is. Like, I heard that it's probably the plastic in the water. That's the only thing that I heard, because plastic's got hormones in.
Yeah, but I think that's a factor. I think also just diets, people's lifestyles, people being sedentary. Just you're sitting around eating McDonald's all day, like your body's not gonna be producing as much testosterone as it should be.
I just did a McDonald's ad. Shout out to McDonald's.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of factors. You know, lifestyle, diet, probably some chemicals in the food and the packaging and all that stuff.
Mm-mm-mm.
And then, yeah, I think all those things compounded. I think we're basically just
On
sending,
steroids.
we're basically sending out signals to our bodies saying, okay, like we don't need as much of this stuff. You know, people are just,
Yeah, that is true.
yeah, if you're sitting around in a cubicle
That is true.
eating fast food all day and not doing any sort of training, then what does your body need testosterone for?
We should be giving gear. Do you know what I mean? The doctors give us what we need. I mean, you know, Harley Street, all the private clinics.
Yeah.
For a regular guy, 25, they prescribe them TRT.
Yeah, I know.
So you see these guys in their business suits looking jacked. Yeah, all they're doing is a muscle and fitness workout, some business half-an-hour workout, and you're thinking, how come he's so jacked and lean? It's because they just call it anti-aging. They call it they all these euphemisms.
Yeah.
And they actually give him it's a steroid. So, but that same guy might be like, I'm totally anti-steroids, but it's like you're getting it, man. So I think we should all get it. You know what I mean? That's the devil. That's the devil.
Who knows in the future, man? Who knows where this weird world is taking us in all these regards?
Have you read Brave New World?
I read it when I was a kid. I read Brave New World when I was like 13 or so.
That book is sick.
I need to actually read it again. I read 1984 again last year.
But making a piece based on 1984 at the moment.
Oh, really? For a theater?
Yeah, in theater, yes. So it's kind of like a beatbox rap. I'm researching and developing it with Mount View students. So we're just trying out ideas, trying different things, and like using 1984 as a stimulus to think what are the comparisons now. And there's mad comparisons.
There's a lot. There's a lot of them.
Have you read The Time Machine by H.G. Wells?
I have not. No, I haven't read any H.G. Wells actually.
Right, The Time Machine. Right, you can tell that Orwell was influenced by H.G. Wells, and you can tell that he kind of not bit, but like he loved that story, and kind of that's how he came up with 1984. So you can see the lineage for those books. But what I find interesting is these guys were actually scientists. H.G. Wells knew a lot about science. That's why it's called science fiction. And he wrote in A Time Machine. He writes in the future, everyone's going to be no gender. No one's going to be having sex. Men are no longer men. But one of the things, and he writes that everyone's going to be vegetarian. That's going to be pushed on everyone. And I'm like, they saw the fascism in pushing. But what's really sad is you get people looking at 1984 and they're like, yeah, we're living in that world now. But they get the wrong messages. I'm like, shit that you believe in is actually opposite to what these books are saying. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to be, vegan. Yeah. Whilst they're dancing in meat, they'll sell you to be a vegan whilst eating meat themselves, while munching on meat. That's what the Romans did. When they see 1984, the film, they're confused because they're like, oh, why are they saying in the future it's a bad thing that no one's eating meat? I'm like, because it is a bad thing. It's an absolutely bad thing, because for over 100 years, future writers, people that have written about the future, have said that totalitarianism is going to push on us to be vegetarians and vegans. That's going to be pushing. If these people have been saying it for years and years and years, but you think I just come out of my own mind and like I'm so against the curve. The people that think they're like really rock and roll and subversive are saying the most obvious things.
And oftentimes not living anything remotely close to those ideals that they're trying to push on everybody else, not in the slightest.
Not at all. I'm a vegan, but I drive a car. I'm a vegan, but I go on many holidays and go on planes. Oh, okay. None of it stands up.
Or you've got 20 pets who are essentially imprisoned.
Which I'm not against, but no. if you want to go there, let's go there. Like, but these people they want their dog to have voting rights eventually. Do you know what I mean? Give them the rights to vote.
Yeah, I saw something about someone who's renting an entire flat for their 2 cats. They're paying like $1,500 a month or something. Just the cats live in this apartment. And I was just like, wow, there's people who give their dogs and cats bottled water. I was like, it's for real. Your dog doesn't even drink tap water.
I mean, that's
wow.
They've lost. They've gone.
Yeah, the Western world is a very funny place right now in many, many ways. Going back a little bit, man. So you talked about where you grew up, but what was growing up there like for you? How was your experience? And even more importantly, how do you think it has shaped what you've gone on to do?
So I grew up on an estate. Like at times we didn't have any. I remember one time we didn't have any furniture from where I lived. Like no beds. There was just a beanbag, and quite a dysfunctional family in many ways. Like my dad is an alcoholic. and like mad abusive, beat on my mom, beat me and my brother. We talk now, but we didn't talk for many years, but he was in and out of jail as well. I feel like if you go through something quite harsh like that, it kind of gives you something that you don't want to be. So like, I don't drink.
Okay, yeah.
Occasionally I might drink, like on tour, a show, or whatever, to celebrate, but I don't drink alcohol, because my dad's alcoholic and he's addicted, and I don't take drugs, because I can sense that there's a massive addiction problem in my family. So to me, that helped me, because some people say, oh, they use an excuse. Well, they did it. And I've experienced lots of different kinds of abuse. To me, I use that as to say not to do it. Whereas other than use that as an excuse of why I'm going to do it.
It's interesting. That can go both ways, can't it? But you often hear it like, okay, this happened to me. As a result of it, I'm this person and I'm going to go and do these same things. And people don't want to take that personal responsibility of going, okay, you know what? Regardless of my situation and the past, which I don't have control of, I'm going to take a different path. I'm going to do something different. And it looks like it can kind of manifest either way. So some of the people I know who are the most anti-alcohol, anti-drug, it's because someone in their family was addicted to one or both of those things. So as a result, they've come out like, nah, like hard line. Like, just no,
for real.
Like they want to go into a complete different path. And I think that's wonderful. But then, yeah, you've also got people who are kind of like, oh, well, it's not my fault. I was raised in a bad place.
Yeah. And they just succumb to it.
Exactly. And that goes for a lot of things, that goes for all sorts of crimes and just general harmful activities. And it's always such a difficult conversation to have with some people because, people don't necessarily want to be honest. Like, it's hard for me because, so myself, like I grew up, I can't complain about my childhood whatsoever. I grew up in a very stable family, which still is. Both parents, no, massive money troubles or abuse, the opposite of that, right? So
That's
oftentimes, it's wonderful, right?
Should we celebrate?
But oftentimes, I do. Oh, dude, I do every day. I thank God for it every single day. Like I'm super blessed in that regard. So I can't necessarily, just like someone else can't put themselves in my experience and my past or whatever, I also can't do the same with someone else, but you can empathize. And I think there's that level of having empathy or having sympathy, but then it can go too far to what I feel is almost like enablement or making excuses for people. Okay.
I agree with that.
Exactly. So this is something I face criticism for occasionally, because I'll be like, okay, I understand that someone could have grown up in a bad place, gone through these bad experiences and whatever, and that might explain why they act or think in a certain way to some degree. However, once you're an adult, okay, like once you're an adult, as far as I'm concerned, where you're going to go, what you're going to do in the future, those decisions you make, like that's on you. You can't be 40 years old. You can't be 40 years old and saying, oh, but when I was 10, this bad thing happened. It's like, at some point, if you want to be successful in anything, you've got to be okay, you know what, this happened, but I'm not going to let the past completely determine. No, I'm not going to let it completely ruin myself, blame it for everything. And people don't like to hear that. People want you to just go, oh, well, that happened, so let's just, it's not their fault. This person stabbed someone, but it's not his fault. His dad wasn't around. And it's like there's a kernel of slight truth in that, as in you can understand how someone can go down a bad pathway if they don't have certain role models or certain figures in their life. Like, it's understandable, but it's not a valid excuse.
No,
you know what I mean? And it's not like,
okay, that's why it may happen, but you're still a dickhead. Sorry, you're still a wrong'un. Yeah, you're still a wrong'un.
Yeah, and it just doesn't. It holds like a little bit of water for me, but not so much, because I'm huge on personal responsibility. And even though I didn't grow up in that young person's situation, I would certainly like to think that if I did, I still wouldn't, think it's cool to go around shanking people. You see what I mean? True. And most people who grow up in that situation do not do that. So it's not really
That's
like
the thing. Most people grow up in a situation don't do that. I feel like the people, the criminals get more celebrated than the people that don't do that.
it's very bizarre, isn't it?
And to grow up in an environment like I grew up, like, you know, I've been stabbed in my arm and my teeth are fake, right? I got some nice fake teeth because I was punched and I was robbed. My teeth were punched out. That's a very harsh thing to happen.
Yes.
But like it would have been easy for me to just be one of the road people, hang around with them, do them things. But instead, I had to take them beatings to be one of them because I was an outsider, and you know, to them I was gay, or I was, you know, completely opposite to what they were. Oh yeah, I'm soft. That would have been very, very, very easy. But people don't celebrate the fact that if you live on an estate or you live somewhere with all these things going on, the majority who aren't doing that are kind of like you're subject to the minority, that because they got the strength, they're gonna swear at you, they're gonna throw things at your yard. You live underneath that. Very sexy for everyone to only talk about all the bad people and say, oh yeah, how hard they had it. It's like, yo, we had it hard as well, but we were bullied by them. But all you do is celebrate them. So actually, you celebrate in the hierarchy of the estate, you're celebrating the people at the top. You don't care about the people at the bottom. But when you celebrate, because they're from that background, it seems like you're celebrating people that need it. Oh, look, they're the underclass. But actually, if you want to look at that whole demographic, you only celebrate the top. You explain it all away. And I went to Brazil with the British Council to do some music research.
Okay.
But when I was there, I went to favelas. And one thing I noticed is that even in Brazil, in the culture, people over here and people over there, they only talk about the gunmen. So they say, oh yeah, they talk about how the police killed a gunman, how it makes it hard for them to make money, how the gunmen. But no one talks about the people that, whilst I was in the favelas, the truth is the people that don't actually have guns and do drugs, they have it a lot harder because they have the police firing into the favela, and they also have the gunmen firing in the favela, and they are bullying everyone around. So they're stuck in the middle. But no one really ever, like the mainstream media, in my opinion, or people, they only talk about all the bad people, but they don't talk about the people that make the choice not to do that. And I went to like one of the drama schools that operate there as part of the favela. All the people in there weren't gunmen. All the people, you know, these people were like definitely outsiders. If you want to look at the whole drug thing, all that, they would have had pressure. There would have been a lot of pressure to do that or to operate and want to do drama, want to be an artist in that environment. It's not that I want to be celebrated. I don't. But it's like I feel like people make excuses and explain away all of the bad people. Do you know, let me tell you something. On the estates where I live, those gunmen, there were people that were robbing everyone. Their parents bought them night trainers. They're the kids that had a lot more than everyone else. And I feel like I remember getting robbed by people looking at them thinking, yo, like your mum always gave you everything. We might come from the same estate, we might come from the same sort of background, but how come you were the sport kid? They were never the poorest kid. If anything, they were the sport ones. And I feel like that's what people would seem to. If you're not from the environment, you don't really get it. They're never the poorest ones who had nothing.
I think that's quite counterintuitive for most people who didn't grow up in a situation like that. I think that's the opposite of what they would expect.
Because it hurts their narrative.
It does.
It's a very clean-cut narrative. And it's like, nah, these were the sport kids. It's what's so infuriating after you've been beaten up and jacked. You're like, you're the rich. To me, they were the rich kids.
Yeah.
They're jacking for it. You're a little sport kid, but your mum gave you everything. You've had everything. And yet you're the one that always talks about how you've had it the hardest, how you've been oppressed, all these other things, and you want to beat me all the time. It's like, yo, we had a lot less than you. And loads of other people that you're jacking had a lot less. But it helps your narrative. And then you've got everyone else supporting you by saying, oh yeah, look how hard he had it. This guy was jacking and robbing everyone, and you're celebrating them. And these guys often go on to shoot someone, and you say, oh, look how hard he had it. By the time you shot someone, how many victims have you got? Seriously, like how many victims have you got? Loads. Yeah. You don't get caught by your biggest crime. By the time you've done that, you've done loads of things. I know that myself because growing up, I did get involved in some bad things, but it was never so bad. And I always think to myself, it's insane because the amount of things everyone does and they're not caught, people will be shocked. If you've never done any crimes before, people will be stunned because it'd be like, so I know by the time people get caught, the amount of shit they've done will be horrifying to most people.
That's a really interesting perspective, man. That's a really interesting perspective. And it's quite rare and unique to hear that. You know, you talked a lot about the narrative, and, you know, when you look at the media narratives on, let's say, both sides of the political bias fence, well, I see big problems. with both sides. Because like you said, on one side, you've got like the constant, to me, it seems like constant excuse making, to put it simply, right? You're not assigning proper responsibility to the individuals who are doing this stuff. You're trying to find every which way in your brain to excuse them or to justify awful behavior, down to killing another human being. And you're saying, oh, well, it's not really their fault because this happened, or, you know, that happened, or they grew up here, or they grew up. And I'm like, I have a really low tolerance for that. And again, you know, people criticize me because they're like, oh, well, you didn't grow up in it, so you can't relate. You can't relate. And I'm like, I don't need to grow up in any situation to know that no matter what situation you grow up in, you don't kill somebody. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I'm not buying that story. I can buy that you're more likely to go down a path that may lead to it, but I'm not going to accept that, oh, it's not your fault because it's an awful argument. Then you've got the narrative on the other side, which is trying to cast the net too wide, which is trying to say that, oh, everyone who is from this, or everyone who looks like this, or all men, or all black people, or all black men, or all whatever the group it is, right? Whatever the group is, like, you've got people trying to push out this narrative that all men, if not criminals, potential criminals, like in the making or something. And you're just like, no, you know, you're just like, no, like that's an awful narrative. It's not just factually incorrect, but it's also divisive and harmful. And it means that it's very dangerous. And it means you can't get to the core of the issue, right? I think people have this idea that if someone doesn't think exactly like them, that they don't care about the issue, or that they want bad things to happen to people, or whatever. And it's like, that's nonsense. People just have different perspectives, and you need these different perspectives. You do need people who are from that, you know, who are from that environment directly, and maybe have grown up that way and taken different paths. You do need people who didn't necessarily grow up in a circumstance, but have an outside perspective of like, hey, like, sometimes it's better to have an outsider to just be like, yo, what you guys are doing here, this doesn't make sense, right? Because someone can just get so caught up in something that sometimes you just need a fresh outside voice, just be like, yo, like, this is not the whole world, right? This is not, you know, whatever people are fighting over, your postcode, your estate, or whatever it might be. This isn't just in the UK, this is everywhere. Okay, like, whatever big thing you think that this is not actually a big thing in the grand scheme of the world. Like, this is a very small thing, and it's petty and it's stupid because ABC, XYZ. And sometimes you need an outsider to put that out there without just chastising them and saying, oh, you don't get me. And it's like, that's not a useful thing. You need to listen to people. If someone's coming from a good place, you know, you've got to accept it. You've got to accept the criticisms, and you've got to move on. And I think that's how things need to move forward. There are so many problems in society, both in the USA, in the UK, in Europe, all over, where I think one of the biggest reasons why problems are not being solved is because people are getting too touchy and too dishonest about these issues. People don't want to talk about them, right? If someone says a certain fact, someone wants to call them a bigot, a racist, whatever, because they stated a fact, like a fact that you can verify. Someone says something, and people just want to get their emotions caught up rather than thinking, that's not a good stat. What can we do on both sides here to make this better? Instead, people just want to fight back and forth, fight, shout at each other. And it's like, okay, like, kids are going to keep stabbing each other. Kids are going to keep kids are going to keep shooting each other. If we don't want to talk about why it's happening, if you don't want to talk about fatherless homes, you don't want to talk about poverty, you don't want to talk about certain things, and you're like, well, how is it going to get fixed?
People will big up that. They'll say like, oh, you know, it's fine to have fatherless homes. It's great. It's like, it's just as great. It's like, no, it can be great. No, we have to accept it and not, you know, maybe not let those people feel bad. But it's not the best case scenario, is it? It's not the best case scenario. The best case scenario is mum and dad being there. That's the best case scenario.
And why should that be controversial?
Yeah. I don't understand what, like, that's been history forever. So why now is it controversial to say it? It doesn't make any sense to me. And the thing is, I'm saying it from the point of view of my mum left my dad, then I had a stepdad. Then like really have I never really a central, didn't get along with my stepdad, never had a central figure, So I'm like, I never had that. So I can just say, but I still can see it's a positive thing. It's obviously a good thing. It's a great thing.
Of course. I mean, every single person I know who grew up with either an absent father, either because they died early or their parents split up or they got wired on drugs, whatever the case may be. The one thing they all have in common is they all will happily say and admit, you know what? Had my father been in my life, things would have been better. It doesn't mean that your mom did a bad job. It doesn't mean that you're messed up and you have no future. It doesn't mean any of that, right? People try to read like all this bad motive into what someone's actually saying. And it's like, no, I'm not saying any of these things. I'm saying you can look at the data, whether anecdotal or like actual hard data. And it's so hard to have these conversations, honestly. And it's a key part of the problem, right? People are like, oh man, why is there rising knife crime? Why is there rising gun crime in certain parts of America? Why are people doing this? Why are people doing that? And this issue is a constant running thread, and it links to poverty. So if people want to talk about poverty, people are way more likely to be in poverty if you've only got one parent working who's then trying, like, it's not complicated. If you've got two people working on one job, it's going to be easier than having one person working on one job. If I'm trying to build a house, it's trying to do it by myself.
But what's crazy is we've known this throughout history, and now we don't know it. Do you know what I mean? Now all of a sudden we don't know it. We're confused about this fact. Apparently, it's debatable whether we need two parents or not. Even if dad's got to go away and work and send money home, that's still parents just providing. That's still, like, I feel like the people that celebrate like single parent families as, like, the best case scenario, how amazing that is, are the same people, you don't need no dad, you don't need mom and dad. They're the same people who will be trying to stick up, like, defend crime from the kid that has no parents. It's like you say how great it is to be no dad, and then you say how none of your stuff stands up. You know what I mean?
It really doesn't. Like,
dad shouldn't be around, but it's bad. But you apparently you're fighting against poverty, and then you want to explain away why there's crime. You don't want to do anything about it. They always contradict themselves.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the hypocrisy and the contradiction that bugs me. I think a lot of it is denial. I don't think that anybody in their heart of hearts, anyone with a brain, there's no way that you can think it's generally better for someone to just be raised by their mom versus being raised by their mother and their father. Like, I don't think there's anyone.
Well, I met some people, man.
Really? But
in this project, it's full of women, and honestly, they were all like one of the women was saying, like, about how wouldn't it be great when women don't need men to have children.
Oh gosh,
I thought she was joking, and then all the other women were like agreeing, like, yeah, it's gonna be so great, like. And it's like, whoa, you lot actually believe in this, but they were seeing it as like a great idea. One day, like, we won't even need to have men. It's like, it'll be so good. It'll be so good. I'm thinking, so good. This is terrifying. When that happens, the world's gonna explode. Hopefully the world will explode.
Yeah.
I think that that should not be allowed. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It is insane.
And the thing is, what's in the Western world is where I live, right? And that's the best place to be. But the thing is, that's not the majority of the world. And the majority of the world thinks you're nuts. These ideas are nuts, And the fact is, their civilization has been going a lot longer than ours. If you want, you're going to blow it up. You're going to blow up this beautiful thing that we have. You're going to ruin it with all these stupid ideas. Like, some of them are good. But some of them are bad. Some of them are very bad. What if we didn't need men to have babies? Don't have a baby then. Don't have one. Don't have one. Like, there's allowed to be consequences of your actions. That's allowed. Like, I've got a tattoo on my face and I can't get a job. Well,
oh gosh,
maybe you shouldn't have got a tattoo on your face. Well, you got the tattoo because you wanted to intimidate everyone. Now that's not working. You want to get a job. Well, you know what? You got consequences of what you did, or you wanted to be too cool. Well, that's it now. You don't, like, you deserve to get judged. We all deserve. There's going to be consequences. But to say there's no consequence, everyone should be able to do everything they want at all times. That's madness. That's insane. And I feel like sometimes that's what people want to push. Everyone should get their say. Everyone should get their say? I agree with that.
Yeah. But you have to be able to. But you have to be able to speak out against it.
Oh, you're a bigot. Oh, you're this and that. No, he ain't. No, he ain't. It's funny. The people calling me a bigot, right, and a racist. My dad's Indian, grew up in a third world country, right? Third world country, but I'm a racist and a bigot, yeah. And I grew up in a housing estate. Lives on what, 4 or 5 of them? But the people that will tell me and want to educate me, oh, you're going to be educated by my rubbish, yeah? These people aren't even from the same background, and they want to tell me how it is. And it's like, so if I take in your narrative, then I'm smart. Then if I believe in what you're saying, if you go too far wrong way, people think you're insane, or they think, oh yeah, you're not on point, you're not on message.
The fact you said on message is very much the thing. It's like people are so brainwashed by some of this crap that any deviation from it, they actually, like, when people tell me to educate myself, like, I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm like, I'm an Oxford University graduate, right? I'm not some, like, I've got plenty of education, let alone all the books I've read, all the stuff I do on my own time. Like, people don't consider, you know what? Well, one, maybe I'm more educated than you, but two, maybe two people can be educated and come to different conclusions and have different perspectives. Have you ever thought of that one? You know, so any certain time someone will disagree with me on something, and it's funny, it's always those same 2 words, educate yourself. And that's when I like know I've won the argument, because I'm just like, oh, here we go, that was predictable. And it's like, I've read, people will sometimes tell me, oh, you need to read such and such book, and it's a book I've read. You know, I'll be like, yeah, I've read it, and this is what I think. These are my rebuttals. This is what I got from it. I didn't buy this narrative. I don't buy. There's a lot of narratives I don't buy, and I think I'm better off for not buying them.
Is a narrative that you're pushing helping people, or is it making them weaker? If it's making people weaker, why would you push it? Why would you want them to? Why would maybe you're telling the truth? Maybe you're telling the truth. But would you want people to listen to your message if it's hurting people? People could see it as hurting people and saying it's your fault. This is your fault. This is what happened. That's not hurting them. That's empowering them to be like, oh yeah, this is actually my fault. But you are right about educate yourself. It's like, educate myself in what? Like, I'm educated, bro. I'm educated. Like, I'm just not, like, we just have different opinions. But that's part of this new fascism. And these people that are pushing the fascism are the ones that will read 1984 and say, yeah, can you see? It's like you're the one. You're the one that's pushing. This is like real complex here, because you're the one that's like telling me how to think. You're the one that wants to delete words. You're the one that wants to delete history, change history. Let's cancel culture. Let's cancel that. Let's mute that. That's not 1984. That's what they want to do. They want to mute things. They want to instead of leaving it there so we know that's what that was. That's what happened. That's history. Yeah. They want to control history. The same people that want to do that are the same people that will say, yeah, we're living under 1984 now. Yeah, no, you are 1984. You're the people that want to delete history. You want to delete everything. You want to get rid of it and hide it. Like, that's what they want to do in 1984, other than saying that's what happened. That's a part of history. And you got to understand the context. Not everything's good, not everything's bad. That's what happened. But apparently all men are toxic. And that's honestly, it's the history of the world. Apparently, is if all men, it's the same as us saying if all poor people were aggressive, right, we'd all be dead. Yeah, because there's more poor people than rich. We'd all be gone. Yeah, dead. If all Muslims were maniacs, we'd all be dead. If all men were psychos, again, the world would have blown up a long time ago. Would have been mashing the place up. Would have been raping. Would have been mashing up. There'd be no inventions. There'd be nothing. There'd be no ideologies. There'd be no ideas. But it's just mashing. None of it holds up in a very basic way. But they still want to push this crap. It's like, why do people listen to this? We all want the best for each other. We want to help each other. But some of the stuff you're saying does not help anyone, because I'm not listening now. Oh, we want you to join our march. Men are toxic. We want you to listen to what we're saying. You're evil. You're toxic. Why am I going to listen? I'm listening now for. I'm not even listening now. Yeah. Why am I on your side? You want allies, but you want to run everything down. And even people in conversation will run down religion, right? So certain religions they won't run down. They'll stick up for and say how amazing they are. Yeah. When it comes to Christianity, are these nutters believing mad people in the sky? Yeah. Or where? How can you just say that? I mean, how can you just say, I mean, what if I talked about the rubbish that you believe, that in your head you're a fish? What if I said that I find that insane? That in your mind you believe you're what you're not. You got parts of your body that aren't there, you believe are there or shouldn't be there. That's insane to me. That's absolutely insane. But you don't want to listen to anything else. Has to fit your agenda. It has to fit everything that you're saying. That's fascism.
The totalitarianism is not going to come from the government. It's going to come from the society, enforced by members of the society on other citizens. I mean, that's literally what is happening. That's actually where the threat is. People are worried about this politician or that politician or this government or that government. I'm like, the threat is from society and culture. Cancel culture, this silencing, this deplatforming, this free speech is hate speech, words are violence. Like literally, I mean, it's these are like mantras out of 1984, you know, freedom is slavery, war is peace. Like, yeah, like these are mantras that are from some Orwellian sci-fi novel or something like that. Free speech is hate speech, words are violence. Like people say these things. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, you are possessed. How can you say that men are toxic, men are trash? It's like, I mean, that is a religion, you know, this whole intersectionality, weird social justice nonsense. I'm like, this is a religion by any definition. If you were an alien and someone kind of told you what a religion was, and then you came to analyze Earth and to see what the religions are, you would classify this thing as a religion.
It is
right?
a religion.
You've got a lot of people who are like, you know, follow traditional religions who are very moderate, and you might not even necessarily know their views on those things unless you knew them really, really well. And then you've got these people who are just there marching in the street, campaigning, being, I don't know, activists of whatever weird cause, shaming people, shutting people down, inciting violence against non-believers, right? Calling people heretics, calling people apostates, right? Someone who doesn't want to stay in that religion. They need to be canceled now. They need to be. I don't want anyone listening to this to think it's like this is some huge program that the majority of people agree with. It's not at all. I think this is like these people. These are less than 5% of the population. They're just very loud and very vocal, and they hold power in certain areas.
And people listen though, because okay, like what's good is you talk to people, and a lot of them see it all for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And what's crazy is that's both sides of this. Whether you think of yourself as left wing, right wing, both people on both sides of the spectrum see it as insane.
That gives me a lot of hope, because I think there's actually a lot of common ground.
Yeah,
because everybody who is anywhere in the center of the spectrum of like political views or just sanity is like can clearly see this is nuts. You know, people can call this like a conservative viewpoint or whatever, but there are many things that if something has been working for hundreds and hundreds of years or thousands and thousands of years, that doesn't mean that it cannot and should not be challenged. There are times when that can and should happen. However, you also want to think before you just throw it away. You might want to think maybe this thing works and provides value for individuals and societies and countries as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like people are so quick to just want to change. And
they want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So everything gets it's a quick change. So all of a sudden, men and women don't exist. But there's loads of problems with that. Like a lot in Western culture, all religion is bad. Yeah, throw it out. But what about all the good things? What about the community? What about a place to go what about the rituals? What about things what we've been doing for thousands of years?
What about morality?
What about morality? What about ethics? Yeah, a lot of the stuff that we hold dear comes from there. Law and order comes from church. Theater, music comes from religion. This is how it's developed. You go into the tribe. If you go into a tribe, isolated tribe, away from everyone, they still have rituals. They still do things together. They still break bread together. They still do things at certain times. You throw all that out. You throw away all the community aspect. The reason for going. So now people are like, why are people so anxious? Why are people just lazy? Why have people got no moral code? Well, school doesn't teach you moral code. It teaches you, you know, maybe not to like throw a chair, but it's no moral code. It's like maths, English. It's the subjects. You know, I'm a teacher. I've seen the way, and a lot of teachers have got no reason even to be in a classroom. So if you've got nowhere for moral code, your parents have got no deep moral code, and there's a massive vacuum, and people are ready to accept it because they're ready to accept everything. And it's like, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. This isn't left or right. It's dangerous. I believe that we should have a system that looks after the people at the bottom. I believe that we should do the place for state benefits. I believe in all those things, but I don't believe in things that go against like what we've been doing for like natural law and like things where it's going to damage ourselves mentally. If I see someone and they're a man and I say, oh, they're a man, I get fired because no, can't you see that's a woman? Well, no, I can't actually. I can't. You're going to put words into my mouth, into my brain. That is a woman. what if that's their right to say the woman? What's my right to say? To be honest, I won't hurt their feelings, so I'll say, okay, you're a woman, but I can just say to you now. I mean, you're a man.
Hmm.
I see you as that,
Yeah.
and that's okay. You can say anything about. You can say to your friends, I see Conrad as a dickhead. That's your right. I see him as an idiot. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's your right. That's actually your right. That's fine. I'm actually fine with that.
Yeah.
But once we take away all of that, again, we throw away the baby with the bathwater. All the
Yeah.
other things go. Freedom of speech goes. Like ideas go. Sometimes you've got to be wrong to be right.
Of course, man. And sometimes you need your ideas to be challenged. There's a lot of stuff I have no opinion on. The stuff I do have an opinion on, I tend to have quite strong opinions because I've really thought about it. And any opinion I have, I want to know the best argument against it. So if I believe in God, I want to know the best atheistic argument. I want to know the best argument about why God does not exist for me to even have that belief. It's not that I don't, it's the opposite of me not wanting it challenged. I want it challenged, okay? If I think that X is wrong, I want to know the best argument against my own position. People don't want that. I think it's because with a lot of these ideas, people know, maybe it's in their subconscious, but people know that the ideas do not hold water. So the only way for them to even survive is for them not to be challenged. I think that's where the deplatforming, depersoning, like very hostile aggression towards anybody who challenges some of these notions. I think that's where it comes from because the arguments are poor. They're poor arguments. Okay. Like a lot of times when people talk about free speech, they worry about, oh, well, what about giving a platform for someone to spew some racist stuff or some misogynistic stuff or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Their arguments are quite easily dismantled.
Yeah.
Okay. And I also know that vast majority of people do not even remotely agree with them. So if someone wants to come, if someone goes on, I don't know, if someone were to go on TV and to start spouting some racial supremacy crap, okay? Anyone with a decent level of debate, argument, knowledge can cut them down pretty easily, like from a moral standpoint, from a scientific standpoint, from a logical standpoint. It's like these positions are not, they're not tenable. And you also have history to show you where even if someone did believe in these things, you can see how negatively they impact society, and you have proof. You know, if you're a somewhat moral person, even if you believed in this nonsense, okay, you can see that implementing it or whatever would be a terrible idea because someone did actually try it, and this is what happened, okay? And it's not going to work again. So to me, the threat of that is far, far, far lower than the threat of massive censorship and policing of different perspectives or policing of honesty or even policing of the truth. You've got people who want to literally change what the truth is. So you might have a scientifically proven fact and someone's like, oh, I don't like that fact. Let's change the fact. And it's like, no, like that's not how it works. Like you can't change the facts. We need to start from this foundation. And then based off it, we can have different perspectives. And I'm happy to hear your perspective, as long as you're happy to hear mine as well. Simple.
And once people are arguing that there's no facts, like, you know, why is that a fact? Why is that a fact? Then I have no reason to have a conversation with you again. Because you're saying that there's no boundaries, nothing should be named, nothing is fixed at all in any way. Well, how can we converse? How can we have a conversation? Because you have no position, you have no reasoning for anything.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. I think, you know, everybody has their own moral code. So it's a fact that to some degree morality is subjective. However, there's a danger with going too far in that, right? You need some level of objective morality. You need some things to be black and white. Okay? You need certain things to be black and white. If you're going to have laws, you're going to have a society and a culture that functions, you're going to need everybody to agree on certain objective truths or laws or things that are good or bad. Okay? If it becomes deeply subjective, if stealing is right or wrong, okay, and I can say, well, by my morals, there's nothing wrong with stealing, you know, people start backing that opinion. And then it's like, okay, we can all run around robbing each other and no one can be put in prison because it's now immoral to put someone in prison because robbing is not immoral. how far are you going to slip down that slope? Because if you let morality be completely subjective, then you can justify anything.
But where it's like, no, it just sounds good now, doesn't it? It sounds good now. It sounds great now.
It's very strange, man. But I'm just looking at the time, bro. We've been talking about a lot of stuff. We've covered a lot of grounds, but
Yeah,
I'm thinking we got to wrap it up soon. So what do you have coming up at the moment? You got any big projects you're working on or things people can check out?
yeah. So at the BAC Art Centre, I've got High Rise State of Mind, which is starting on the 18th of March. It's maybe for 2 weeks, and it goes in May. Coming People's Theatre. I've also got Frankenstein with the Beatbox Academy. That's going to be on from the 11th of March for 3 weeks, 550 seater venue every night for 3 weeks. So check out the BAC website, come and see it. Got some beatboxing, all sorts of different sounds, but rapping, singing. I mean, it's theatre and performance, so put your tickets, bac.org.uk.
Awesome, man. Conrad Murray, thank you for being on the podcast, bro.
Thanks, Zuby. Cheers, man. Cheers.
Bye bye.